Armen Levack, 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. John Sadak, the voice of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, with Armen Levack joining us now, the Yankees AAA affiliate. And John, you have seen Masahiro Tanaka pitch more recently than most. His last appearance in AAA wasn't fantastic. Where should our expectations be for Masahiro Tanaka's appearance coming back again tomorrow, starting for the Yankees?
That's a great question. He only made 2 appearances for us. The first one went relatively well. Fastball velo was about where he's been in the big leagues, in the low 90s, 90 to 92, flirted with 93 at times. Splitter looked fantastic. And he seemed to be building and getting stronger, but he was on a pretty tough pitch limit. The last time that he pitched, you have to put a bit of an asterisk next to it. In the first inning of that game, that was at Pawtucket, the Red Sox team up in Rhode Island, the day game on a travel day. The mound inexplicably started to crumble. The Pawtucket pitcher in the top half of the first inning endured a similar scenario, but it had worsened by the bottom half. Tanaka battled through some base runners while the mound in giant clumps was falling apart, and it got to a point where he had no room to plant his foot on the follow-through of his delivery. In my mind, that inning is kind of a wash. In the innings that followed that, second inning was still somewhat shaky. Velocity was down a bit. Slider was inconsistent. We didn't see the splitter much. Third inning was great. He went 1-2-3 against some pretty good hitters in a lineup that's one of the best power lineups in this AAA league. So it's hard to tell because of the very small sample size that was established in those 2 starts.
John, the mound was crumbling? Like, I know minor league systems tend to do stuff to entertain. Did you guys do like a San Andreas promotion? What was that?
Well, it was on the road. It was at Pawtucket, and I've never seen anything like it. It was certainly not intentional. It prompted about a 10-minute delay. Wow. The umpires started to recognize how horrendous it was, and they commanded the grounds crew enter and repair, and it took 10 minutes of bringing in wheelbarrows full of dirt, patching up the holes, raking it through, and trying to solidify the mound. In the top half of the inning, it was eroding dramatically right around the pitcher's rubber. And in the bottom half of the inning, when Tanaka was pitching, it was huge clumps. I mean, about the size of a basketball of clay that were coming loose. Divots as if you were golfing, where the blade of your golf swing would be taking out chunks the size of Shaquille O'Neal's foot.
Oh my!
What the what? That
Red Sox dirty pool is what it is.
Oh,
right
stop
there.
it! That sounds dangerous.
Yes, that's why they stopped the game and required the grounds crew to repair it.
So not all of Masahiro Tanaka's last appearance can be blamed on Masahiro Tanaka. We have to blame some of it on the mound, or like you said, it's kind of unknown what the case really was at the start of that game.
Yeah, I can't clearly say. I think when I spoke to scouts after that game, they pointed to that as a hindrance to getting a real feel for where Tanaka was. I think on the whole, you saw him building better toward the end of it, but it's only 2 rehab appearances, and he hadn't pitched since, April 23rd. So it's very hard to say. I think it'll be a bit of an eyebrow raiser, a curtain lifter in some ways for a lot of folks.
John Sadak, the voice of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, the Yankees AAA affiliate, with Armen Levack on 104.5 The Team, your home for Yankees baseball.
John, I guess the biggest question anytime Tanaka throws 60-plus pitches is, did you notice any favoring of the arm? Did he look like he was getting away from certain pitches because his forearm or his wrist or his elbow were giving him trouble?
I don't even know how you can readily tell that. I did not, and all I know is that when Tanaka spoke to the media after the game, he insisted that his arm felt completely fine. He was curious to confirm how it would feel the next day, and obviously by the fact that he's going to pitch in the big leagues, by all reports, that would tell me that his arm felt fine. He has said that, I can't even say repeatedly, he only pitched for us twice, but in the couple of outings that he had, he told the media attending after his appearance that he felt fine. He thought in his first outing that he had command of most of his pitches. In the second outing, he admitted that the fastball wasn't quite where he wanted it to be. The slider was solid at times. And I think everybody is curious to see how he's going to rebound, how he'll continue to look as he pitches through this 2015 season.
John Sadak, voice of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, with Armen Levack, 104.5 The Team. John, you've seen Tanaka in person at a AAA level, obviously in rehab starts. What kind of stuff does this guy have? What do you take away from when you watch Tanaka?
based on pure stuff, I saw him in a couple of innings in a rehab environment. It wasn't Masahiro Tanaka in his full form. The splitter was amazing. When he was using it well in that first appearance, it was an outstanding pitch. But in terms of pure stuff, I'm not sure that Tanaka's ever been considered an overwhelming stuff guy outside of that splitter. What has made him so good over the years is he has so many pitches that he can go to, and that he is a smart pitcher who pitches with guile, and with that vast array of weapons can find some way to get out almost any hitter because he'll find a weakness, and with his giant arsenal, he'll exploit it.
John, the other arm that you're starting to see and we're very curious about is Severino. What are you seeing so far in the number one prospect for the Yanks?
Well, he's only made one start so far. He made his AAA debut a couple of days ago. The fastball was electric. It was a 94 to 97 pitch. His first AB, he faces Henry Urrutia, who was the Orioles minor league player of the year a couple of years ago. He's regarded as a very solid AAA player at this point, and he struck him out on 3 pitches, all fastballs. It was overwhelming. Thereafter, command started to erode. He confessed after the start that it wasn't exactly where he wanted it to be, but he dismissed any notion that it had to do with butterflies, and I believe it. He's a very self-assured, very confident, not cocky. I think he has the appropriate level of swagger that you need to have as a pitcher, in particular as he rises up through the ranks. But he's one of the youngest guys in this league. He's 21 years old, throws 97. Changeup was a very good pitch that he commanded erratically. The slider was clearly developing. And in my mind, that's only one start. It was his first one at this level. I think you need a handful more to really get a feel for what he's going to be like at this level and what he can translate to in terms of being a big league pitcher. But that's the pitch that I think he probably needs to refine the most. The fastball, it's a great pitch. It's been highly heralded. It's why he led the Yankees farm system in strikeouts last year. It's why he was outstanding at Double-A during the course of this year. The changeup, because of the change of speed, is a very, very strong pitch. It's almost Cole Hamels-esque on the right side. He draws some Pedro comparisons because of the whip-like motion of his arm, but he's much bigger than Pedro Martinez. He is a solid, good-sized right-hander. But as soon as that slider sharpens, he will be unhittable. He will be top of the rotation type of ability.
Wow. Ooh, love it, baby. John Sadak, the voice of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, AAA affiliate of the New York Yankees, getting us pumped up on 104.5 The Team.
John, another name that Yankee fans keep waiting to see at the bigs level. You can see every night, Rob Refsnyder. What's holding him back from breaking through to the Yankees' major lineup?
That's a great question, because the way he played last year and the way he's played this year, I think he would be a fine addition to any major league team. He's a very strong hitter. He's become more of a singles guy this year than last, but he got off to a tough start, and he's been very honest about that. He has an aura about him, a gravitas and a calmness that exudes leadership. He's a very smart young man, but he's humble. He defers to teammates, yet at the same time shoulders responsibility when things go poorly, and he does that on his own merit without any form of provocation or line of question from media. He has captain-like material to his person. There are many parts of his personality that remind me of Derek Jeter. I'm not saying he's the player that Derek Jeter is. Time will only tell. He's got to get that opportunity at some point. But in terms of the way he goes about his business, the way he treats people, his teammates, media members, fans, he has that charisma. He's a very strong up-the-middle opposite-way hitter who has talked about how at the start of the year he was in a fielding funk. You can go through a funk at the plate, and he felt that he was in a fielding funk at the start of the year. And that's built from spring training, when he hit incredibly well in Major League spring training, but he had problems in the field. And that's principally why he went to AAA at the start of the season. That spilled into the start of the year. It did affect him at the plate to a certain extent. He said his timing was just a hair off. He found that when he was swinging, his natural inclination was to take his eyes off of the follow-through of the swing to see where the ball was going. And he said, I can't do that. I need to keep my eyes on the hitting zone through the swing and let the ball do what it's going to do. He recognized that, but had a hard time implementing it in games. That has since changed. At one point, he established the longest on-base streak in the league during the course of the season, and it was far from a hit or a walk a game. He was hitting just under 400 in that time with an OBP close to 500. He's a 3-hole hitter every day, and the defense has improved measurably. He is out there doing early work every day. There's a coach here by the name of Justin Torty who works principally with infield defense and base running, and he is out with Rob Repsnyder on a daily basis, enhancing his range, his throwing, his confidence, and I think he would be a huge asset if he were called up now or at the end of the season. I think the whole world is curious when that time will come.
John, do you guys get any reports on how long until a guy like Aaron Judge moves his way up to playing for AAA?
No, we're never really informed of that. I think what you have to do is look at the roadmap of what the Yankees have done historically. And generally speaking, you look at what Repsnyder did, you look at what Kyle Roller did last year. Usually they seem to like about 2 to 3 months of consistent, established, injury-free play. And based upon that, you would forecast that it's very possible we could see him up here at some point in the next month. The clutter and concern this year, and I think it will increasingly be the case in the coming years, is the farm system is much deeper at the higher levels than it's been in some time. AAA, during my brief tenure here, had a sprinkling of prospects, but was largely a holding tank, and that had been the norm for many teams in baseball. You bring in a lot of 6-year free agents, guys who are versatile, who can play a lot of positions, many of whom have a decent amount of big league time, and then if player A goes down with injury in the big leagues, you insert player B for a week, 2 weeks, and he's not the same guy, but he's not going to lose you games. He's a stopgap filler. And there was a revolving door of solid, contributing players along those lines in recent years. That's not the case this year. This is by far the youngest Yankees AAA team since the franchise moved AAA to Scranton back in 2007. And a lot of it is seen in the outfield. You have guys that have gone up already, like Slade Heathcott and Ramon Flores. You have Tyler Austin here, who's a corner guy. Ben Gamel, who was not really on the prospect radar, the younger brother of former consensus top prospect Matt Gamel, who had a cup of coffee with the Yankees in spring training. And it makes it very competitive. You have Jake Cave as well at AA, and Mason Williams, who's already been promoted after Heathcott had gone up to the big leagues, and he's gotten off to a great start at AAA. It's a crowded, clouded dynamic, and that means when you make decisions, they could have significant impact. In order to bring Judge here, somebody probably has to leave or lose a lot of playing time. And now it's more and more prospects that are battling one another. Ultimately, for the Yankee fan, that's a good thing. You're going to wind up seeing the strongest survive of that, and there'll be players who can impact and help at the big league level. You saw what Heathcott did before his leg injury. You saw what Flores can do with his arm in game number 1, and now he's got hits in back-to-back games. He's a very strong, young, 23-year-old lefty who has pull pop that could play big time at Yankee Stadium. So I think Judge, as long as he stays healthy, continues to produce. He's got huge power. He's a towering figure who has surprising athleticism in the outfield. Yeah, he'll be at AAA at some point this year. He can't continue to mash at that rate. But to forecast exactly when that will happen, that's a more inexact science.
John Sadak, the voice of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, at John Sadak on Twitter. That's Sadak. John, who's the guy at the AAA level as Yankee fans that we should, who we haven't brought up yet, who has been playing very well this year, that's been getting your attention, that deserves recognition?
Sergeant Brian Mitchell, who was up with the big club in spring training. He's been up and down a couple of times in recent years. Most times when he's been recalled, he hasn't actually pitched. But he is a huge talent. He hit 97 regularly in his last start. He went 8 scoreless innings on 79 pitches. And due to an off day and some other concerns, there are a lot of priority bullpen arms here that needed to get innings. They yanked him after 8. But that was as sharp as I've ever seen Mitchell. And when we asked him after the game, he called it the best outing of his life at any level. He is getting locked in. He is maturing as well in terms of his personality. He was a little shy last year, and I think you could see that at times translating even onto the field. There is a brimming of confidence that has come with his second year. Gil Patterson, who's the outstanding director of pitching for the Yankees, he is the main teacher on the system-wide level in terms of the minor leagues. He is a cutter advocate. That's something that Mitchell throws, and he's worked with Mitchell one-on-one quite a bit when he's been in town with his team. And I think you can see the dividends that it's playing. The issue that he's had at this point, he sometimes pitches a little fine for a power pitcher, and he sometimes has issue putting guys away with a strikeout. He'll get some deeper counts. The walks are a little higher than he would like. But his last 3 outings have all been incredible. He had a really rough one at Norfolk last month. And since then, he has been lights out. He looks like he is ready to be a significant contributor at the big league level. And there are many arms in this bullpen. You've seen what Jacob Lindgren has been able to do during the course of his brief run of the big leagues. Jose Ramirez has a tremendous fastball changeup combination that once he harnesses his command, that pure stuff, he throws 95 with a fastball, 87 with a great changeup. He will be an outstanding middle option in your bullpen. And I also think Danny Barawa, who's a New York kid from Long Island, pitched at St. John's. He's a true 97 with a wicked slider, one that Patterson taught him. They were in Charlotte last year, the White Sox team's home, and he was professing his own dislike for his slider. And Patterson said, why don't you try throwing it with your fastball grip? Barawa considered that crazy and borderline blasphemy in a humorous way, and then tried it while he watched, and all of a sudden it just snapped. It was a swing and miss death pitch. And I think Danny Barawa, with those two pitches, another really young arm who's only in his second year of AAA, could be a huge impact to the big leagues.
John Sadak, announcer and voice of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. And John, we appreciate and like your work and enjoy it. And thanks for keeping us abreast of the situation going on at the AAA level, man. Enjoy the day, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you.